I am so incredibly thrilled to have you here today, because we are diving into a really fascinating quirk of human psychology. I mean, have you ever stopped to wonder why your brain just seems to aggressively fixate on the things you haven't finished? Why it relentlessly holds on to these tasks that are left hanging, while completely ignoring all the amazing things you've actually accomplished? Well, today, in this explainer, we're unpacking the science behind why unfinished tasks literally haunt you. And more importantly, we're going to look at exactly how we can use this knowledge to our advantage.
So, picture this scenario, and let's be honest, this is probably going to feel a little too familiar. You're lying in bed, the lights are out, you're staring at the ceiling, desperately trying to fall asleep. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, your brain just smacks you with a reminder about an email you never sent. Or maybe it's a half-finished to-do list, or that show you had to pause halfway through. It is so frustrating, right? You just want to rest, but your mind is racing, just looping over and over on that one single unfinished thing. Which brings us to Section 1, the midnight brain nag, and the psychology of the unfinished. Because I want to validate your experience right off the bat here. This midnight anxiety is not random. It's actually a highly documented psychological effect. To see where this all started, let's jump to Section 2, the Vienna Cafe mystery, a 1920s discovery. We have to travel back a century to meet a psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik. She was hanging out in a bustling Vienna cafe, and her observations there led to a massive psychological breakthrough that we now call the Zeigarnik Effect. Basically, this is the psychological tendency to remember interrupted or incomplete tasks way better than completed ones. The effect was literally named after her because she was the very first person to figure out that our minds have this specific biological bias toward things that are incomplete. What Zeigarnik noticed in that cafe was so specific and honestly pretty mind-blowing. She was watching the waiters, and she realized they could flawlessly recall these incredibly complicated unpaid orders. They knew exactly who ordered what, all without writing a single thing down, as long as the bill was still open. But the exact second that bill was paid, poof, the details completely vanished from their memory. It was literally like their brains just wiped the hard drive the moment the transaction was completed. Which leads us to Section 3. The science of open loops, and the puzzle experiment. Because Zeigarnik knew she had to test this in a controlled environment. So, she gave people puzzles and math problems, and then she intentionally interrupted some of the participants right in the middle of their work. And when she looked at the results, they were staggering. 2 times, the people who were interrupted mid-task remembered their assignments almost twice as well as the people who were actually allowed to finish them. Just the simple act of being interrupted made the memory of that task twice as strong and sticky in their minds. So, what's actually happening here? Well, here is the core theory. Finished tasks? They get filed away and closed. Your brain basically says, awesome, that's done, I can let that go now. But unfinished tasks, those stay highly active in your working memory. Why? Because your brain does not want to risk forgetting something it hasn't fully dealt with yet. It's essentially holding on to that information to protect you. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that your brain treats an incomplete task like an open loop. Think of it as an unresolved thread. This means it isn't necessarily the task itself that's giving you that late-night anxiety. It's the feeling of incompleteness. That's exactly why a half-written text message sitting in your drafts can bother you so much more than a fully sent, super important email. The email is a closed loop. The draft, total open loop. Now let's jump to Section 4, the cliffhanger effect and the modern symptoms of open loops. Let's take this 1920s science and see how it plays out today.
Because make no mistake, modern media and technology have absolutely weaponized this against our working memory. This little biological quirk is exactly why you literally cannot resist hitting next episode when a Netflix show ends on a massive cliffhanger. It's why those to-be-continued screens feel so agonizing. It's the whole reason why having just one single open browser tab on your computer feels physically impossible to close without reading first. They are all open loops, and your brain simply refuses to let them go.
But don't worry, we're not helpless here. Let's move to Section 5, hacking your working memory, the antidote to open loops. Here is the absolute best news you're going to hear today. You can use what's called the brain dump hack to get some immediate relief, and you don't even have to finish the task. Step 1, just notice the open loop. Acknowledge that your brain is stubbornly holding on to something. Step 2, capture it somewhere trustworthy. Literally, just write it down, even if it's on some messy list. And Step 3, make a concrete plan. You see, follow-up studies to Zeigarnik's original work prove something amazing. Simply making a concrete plan for an unfinished task calms your brain down almost exactly as much as actually completing the task itself. Crazy, right?
So, the next time your brain won't stop nagging you at 1 a.m.,
Don't fight it. Just write down the very next step. Your brain isn't actually demanding that you finish everything right this second. It just wants reassurance. It just needs to know that you haven't forgotten. And writing it down provides exactly the reassurance it's looking for.
Which perfectly brings us to this wonderful quote, and honestly, the core message of our entire explainer today. Your unfinished to-do list isn't a character flaw. It's just biology. I really, really want you to take that to heart. Let go of all that guilt over procrastination or having things hanging over your head. It's literally just the way your beautiful, overprotective brain is wired.
So, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. What open loop are you going to write down tonight? Seriously, take back your mental space. Find that one lingering task, write down a plan, close the loop, and go get some well-deserved sleep. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. If you enjoyed this and want more bite-sized psychology and deep dives just like it, make sure to stick around. I'll catch you in the next one.